Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
Today we're going to talk about sewing classes. So we run a store where we sell machines and we repair machines and we teach classes. We teach many classes.
And sometimes I think we also have out the shingle that says, if you got a problem, come in and we'll talk.
We cry with you. we reminisce with you. No.
It's like your psychologist, hairdresser.
A lot of people say sewing is cheaper than therapy or what. I mean, you know.
Well, sometimes it is.
Sometimes. I don't know.
Depending on,
I guess I
whatever.
should look up therapy rates and just $5 below the hour.
I think they're comparable.
Well, anyway, we've got a few
Sewing is just more tangible.
And you know, sewing has been a social endeavor for a long time. You know, women sitting around doing the needlework or da-da-da-da-da and talking and, you know, gossiping.
I think sometimes.
Stitch and bitch circles.
I think it was an excuse. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm getting into this political stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was an excuse that women could get together and talk, and yet they were still working. So, like, they weren't taking anything out of the home or away from their role
you're in
because
the
they were
home.
still producing something.
Have you ever read A Tale of Two Cities?
Well, yeah, but like 50 years ago.
I don't know why this is never brought up. And maybe I read it in like 9th grade. So that's
I'm waiting to see what you're going to say.
A long time ago for me.
Oh, yeah, man. That was like, what, 10 years ago?
The French woman is who is like trying to orchestrate all the beheadings. She's always knitting.
Right.
She is, and it's like, I haven't seen any movie adaptations. I'm just going to say that. I'm totally ignorant. Is that in the movie?
No. But think about movies in general.
Okay, but is it in the? Is she knitting in the? Is she in the movie? It's her name.
I don't think I've ever seen the movie.
I've got it on the Netflix queue.
Oh, okay. I don't honestly remember seeing the movie.
I loved that book a lot. I really liked it in 9th grade.
It's a very good book.
Well, anyway, okay.
But okay, just movies in general. Okay, especially in I know what olden times is such a terrible term, but in previous times or previous decades or whatever, what do you see but the man sitting there smoking his pipe with his feet up, and the woman's like hand stitching or repairing something or making a beautiful home sweet home pillow for the bed. What? She never gets any time off. I mean, that's her excuse to get to sit down, is she has to have something she's doing. Boy, I'm excited.
Calm down. I've got my own feminist conspiracy theory. I've got another one. I got it when I went into the shop the other day. It popped into my brain. Anyway, we'll share it on another podcast. We'll keep them spread out, Yeah. Okay, so sewing classes. So we have classes where you learn how to use your machine. We call those guide classes. And those are like the same every time. It's a series of classes. Right. We do 3 on sewing.
It's instructional on basic type sewing and learning your machine.
Yeah, you may know how to do a straight stitch and a buttonhole on your older machine, but how to do it on this new machine.
And you can be a very accomplished sewer, and the guide classes will introduce you to your machine and let you know something, and go over some things that maybe you even forgot if you haven't sewn for a while.
And something a lot of people are new to when they buy a machine is embroidery, machine embroidery.
And the decorative stitches.
Mm-hmm. And so the embroidery.
And the computer aspect.
Yeah, the computerized embroidery is its own class, so we do that. Okay, so we do those classes, right? And then
and sergers. People don't know much about it. Sergers are neglected terribly.
You're right. Sorry. We sell sergers, and that's separate class.
Right.
A separate set of classes. And then we do we do project-based classes where you come in and you make a something. Right. And we have in the past, for a long time, this was kind of like a revolutionary thing, I think, that you started. What was that? Like 8-10 years ago.
Oh boy, yeah, it's been a while.
We did these.
I'd say almost 10 years now.
Yeah. We did these monthly classes, and we called them cute things. We like alliteration and puns at our store. So we had like embroidery insights and surge ahead, and we still have quilting quickies. Fiber fun. Fun. Embellisher party is what we were calling the embellisher class. And these were 2-hour classes where you learned a technique, and
I called them skill classes.
Skill building,
and really called it owning a skill.
Right.
Because when you left there, our objective in writing the class or whatever the syllabi or syllabus was for the class is that we said people need to learn more about embroidery.
On a terry cloth towel.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And so when they left, and there was a project involved, of course, and you left with a little project, but it was more about them learning the skill of how to do that and owning it, instead of making this big confusing class with a whole lot of information in it where you might leave somebody behind. But you knew you were going to leave with 1, 2, 3 skills specifically that class was, oriented to.
And we would, for the longest time, those were so popular. People were
Very
like, well, just
popular.
sign me up for the next one. I'm coming every month. But some people would come to these classes, like 3 of them each month. They had a serger, they had an embroidery machine, they had a this, and they would keep coming and coming and coming, right? And then we didn't do as many big garment construction classes.
Right.
I think that garment sewing was not quite as in vogue in the way it... I think it's having a resurgence right now. So we're talking, 6 to 8 years ago. And we were like, And we had, what did we call our like open studio back, like Project Make It or something?
Yeah.
Didn't we? Had a name where you could come in and get sewing help.
Well, and I think at one time we even had something called, UFO, where you could, bring in the unfinished object, and wasn't there pigs, which was projects in
grocery sacks,
bags or so, grocery sacks,
yeah. And so we had those classes, and people liked those for a while.
Right.
And then we have the advent of online classes,
right?
And things like that, and da 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 da. And now at our shop one of the most popular classes recently was ginger jeans.
Ginger jeans,
where we help people fit into their jeans.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, I don't, you never know what happens, but, and this is the good thing about having a small business or, and being in touch with your clientele is you can change.
Right.
And things do change.
I think 2 things that have changed are how big the machines are.
Yeah.
I think people have really big machines that they don't want to lug into a store.
That might be true.
And then with the ease of access on the internet, and there's good information and bad information on the internet.
Right.
But I think people, they find the good they can find the good information, and they can do certain things at home,
Sure.
And then how Ginger Jean's class ended up being structured, which I think this is totally like never something I would have thought about doing. I had like 11 people sign up for it, and more people wanted to take it, and I cut the class off, And we had a group Ginger Jeans planning meeting, where I had everybody fill out a worksheet. Are you making high-waisted? Are you making low-waisted? Do you want belt loops? What are your measurements? What are your fitting concerns? And we all talked about it. And then people came in and scheduled one-on-one times to do everything. Right. So I've been working with people one-on-one. Right. And then we had one more group meeting where I demoed a few things. And some people felt like they could do these things at home. And some people felt like they needed to come in.
Which is really nice, because you're addressing people, their different skill levels, their different desires. And not only that, but even their own, I'm missing the word, but their own...
Comfort.
Well, comfort would be it. Yeah. I mean, that's a
kind
synonym
of like
for what I'm thinking of is, your comfort level in doing this.
Yeah, your confidence.
Your confidence is what I was looking for. Thank you.
And I, now I'm hearing from people, I don't want to lug my machine in just for a 2-hour class.
Right.
Whereas before we were like, we need to make these classes real short. We don't need any 5-hour classes, and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is really, different. I'm hearing different feedback from people. And you were just talking about a class you took at a gym. Right. And you felt like you didn't get the introduction to the class that you needed.
I had never been to this class before. Actually, I'd never really taken a class at this specific area in the gym.
Uh-huh.
And I walked in, and it was obvious that I was the newbie.
Mm-hmm.
No one, other people were talking to each other, sort of engaged or talking to the instructor. They knew what to do. They're just going right to what they're supposed to do. They give you this bracelet at the front desk, and you were supposed to put it over here, and nobody said put it over here. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope no one's not. There better not be a teacher in my shop like this.
Yeah.
I also, just like a sewing machine, paid a lot of money for this.
Yep.
Okay. And finally, I went to this lady that was kind of, not engaged with everybody else. She had been talking to someone, but what? And I said, so you've taken this class before? And she said, yes. And I said, so what do I had to ask someone in the class what to do.
Right.
Now, I don't feel uncomfortable any place, okay?
Right.
But there are people that do.
Right.
Okay. And I want everyone that comes into our shop and takes a class, whether they're new, whether they have anxiety about taking a class and they're not new, or they think somebody's going to sew better than them versus me thinking somebody can, work out better than me and I'll be left behind or whatever. I came to class because I wanted to accomplish something. I had my own personal goal, and I like to be in class, and I like other people. And, if someone's telling me what to do, it's encouragement.
Well, and we have, right now, most of the classes at the shop are being taught by me, and then also Linda Bertine's got some quilting classes. And Linda was a public school teacher.
Right.
And she does an excellent job. I will see that each and every person in her class I know who they are. They've been to her classes before.
Right.
And
everybody praises her
teaching technique. She does such a good job of that introduction, And then I am teaching a class on the Morris blazer right now, and it's a smaller class, and I'm really liking that. Everybody's got their own table, their own cutting table, their own everything, real nice. And I had to make the disclaimer at the beginning. I said, hey, we're going to talk about measurements, and we're going to talk about sizes of our bodies and pattern adjustments, and this is all to help everybody get the right fit. We're not making it, just so you know. So when we use words, and this, kind of comes from the body image podcast that we released a while ago. I said, they're all relative, don't worry about it. And we'll be talking about busts and boobs and hips and waists and stuff like that. And I could see the three women, even though two of them I knew very, very well, from the time I was 5, one of them, I said, I could see them relax a little bit. They're like, okay, we're all on the same team.
Exactly.
We're all on the same team.
And that's what class should be about too, is sort of the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And the feeling good. And, after we get the business of the class done, you usually hear conversation flowing.
Yeah.
And it's not always about sewing. It can be about somebody's kid that went off to college. It can be about a wedding in the family that you're helping plan.
Right.
It can be about a health issue. We hear it all, let's face it. But, somebody can be going through something fantastic. Somebody can be going through something that's stressful. And maybe it sort of gets talked about or thrown out there in the conversation sometimes.
Absolutely. And I, this Morris blazer class, one of the people had actually already made one. She made one, and she was still coming to class, which I am very flattered by that, actually, that she thinks that I've got something to add to her experience.
And I would really like to address that point. I don't know what you're going to say.
Well, go ahead.
But I wind up taking classes, especially at conventions, because some I'm forced to take and some I just take. And I have sat through entire classes that I'm pretty sure I had more experience than the teacher.
Right.
No, I know I had more experience than the teacher because I'm 110 and they were 2.
Right.
But we all have different experiences also.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do take a class, as long as I come away with 1 or 2 little things that I learned, and it might not even be what I thought it was going to be. It might not be about that even class subject. It might be something else. I think it's a win.
Right.
I don't think I have to learn every single thing in that class right there, to the nth degree. I think if I come away with something valuable, I've come away with something that, sometimes just the camaraderie aspect, you will network and find out something I told somebody you could get ice at Steak and Shake in the bag, and they didn't know that. I mean, it's
what's really cool about a class is when you are in there with a bunch of people, and I'm going to kind of talk about not being in class with a bunch of people too. Well, I taught the Delia jacket class from the Magic Pattern book last year, and everybody used a different fabric. And so I got to say, hey, you all who are using, the wovens here,
right.
Carol's using this Ponte. So if you're going to do it, out of Ponte next time, make sure to do this. And I wouldn't have mentioned that to somebody if they were only in class.
And that's a real big advantage, I think, like in guide classes when you're learning new machines. Mm-hmm. Someone will raise their hand and say, what about? And it's not a question you would have thought to ask.
Right.
But it probably would have come up at some point in time. That's the other thing. What questions are stupid?
The questions you don't ask.
Yes, and I've told my children this all their life. Why would you not ask? At the risk of what? Maybe being a fool? No, the person is the fool is the one that looks down on you for asking that question.
Well, and sewing class, and sewing class isn't a place to like show off how well you sew, necessarily. It's a place to learn, and
any classes.
We're going to start.
Yeah, you got to be careful who the teacher is too.
Well, that's true. We're going to start at the shop offering a little bit different class options. So we talked about like these little 2-hour project classes and these, we've got a 2-session class on the Morris Blazer. We have something called Open Studio,
right,
where you can come in and kind of like choose your own sewing adventure, But, I want to start sort of offering like a menu for during Open Studio.
Right.
Because all these Ginger Jeans people have been coming in one-on-one.
Right.
It's been great. And, I can't have 16 people in the room all doing a fly zipper.
Right.
We don't have the space or the manpower or, probably no one else wants to be in the room with 15 other people doing a fly zipper either, all at the same time. And so I'm going to make Open Studio. I'm going to have project options where if you are doing the Morris Blazer, you can come in and say,
sure,
I'm doing the Morris Blazer.
Absolutely.
I couldn't make the class that Mallory offered on these 2 consecutive Saturdays.
Right.
And what that's going to do is, Morris Blazer class was like, $35. And so that's actually less expensive if you just pay for Morris Blazer class,
right? And then
than
come
2 open studios. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And so because I've made one, Sam's made one, Becca's made one,
right.
Everybody's made one.
So the resources are right there.
So everyone knows how to do it. We'll be able to walk you through it. Ginger Jeans class people have been coming in for 5, 6, sessions with me, depending on fit and all that jazz. And Ginger Jeans class is $75, and that's less expensive than coming in for 6 open studios, or whatever. And I think that that's going to be really a cool, like this is, I don't know, we'll get feedback on it, from our
right.
customers, but I'm going to allow people to say, oh my gosh, I missed Ginger Jeans when it started in, May or June or whatever. When are you going to offer it again? And I'm going to say, well, you get to come in and start when you're ready.
Right.
And I think that it will be a neat way
right.
to structure class.
I think another thing that people need to think about when they're taking a class is, so say this is a class where everybody makes a cosmetic bag or whatever. It shouldn't be about the cosmetic bag. It should be about the skills that it takes to make the cosmetic bag. It should be a building experience. Like if you can only make cosmetics bags now the rest of your life because that's the only class you took, and then you can't make, what would be next? I don't know. A pair of pants because you haven't taken the class. I mean, you can try. You can still take the pants class. But what I'm saying is there should be skills taught. And I know when I teach a class, I not only say we're going to put a zipper in and this is how I will say to people, if you hold your hand like this, you won't have to pin, this. Or if you do this. And I think people, in fact, when I was setting the sleeve in
the blazer.
Blazer. What did I say that people went, oh, I was saying things about different, I was talking about threads and I'm setting, a sleeve, but I'm talking about, and everybody's like, wow, oh, and I said, aren't you glad you came? And they said, yes. So that's what a teacher can do for you.
And I think that, we're going to start doing online classes too. That's an announcement that I made in the newsletter for the podcast in the shop. And some of our more basic things are going to go online, or it's just a way for you to get some of our instruction if you can't be there in person, whether or not you live in our town or not, But I think that they can all work together, and we are huge on wanting you to be able to apply skills in other areas. In fact, I think sometimes almost to a fault. Yes. I think sometimes I'm like, well, if we teach this shirt class, how can we not cover all the different types of ways you can finish the shirt?
And every way you think about putting a button on every shirt you've ever made.
Because it runs through my head every time I'm making something. And I'm like, we have to divide these things up. And see, that's what online classes can do for people, I think. I think that they can give them almost like a hard drive.
Right. Well, and the other thing is you can always refer to another video or whatever.
Right.
The other thing I want to address is I want to address teachers that are out there listening to this. I would assume we have some teachers. And how long have I been teaching sewing? Well, it seems like forever. I don't know, 20 plus something years.
Yeah.
Besides other things that I've taught. But there was a point of time that I was a very, very popular teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And
you still are.
Well,
Mom.
right. But I mean, all I had to say was, I'm going to give a class, and I would have 8 people that signed up. They didn't. I would say, wait a minute, it's about, and they go, it's okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So they, had my following, I had my groupies or whatever, and I had 2 people in my groupies that never finished a project. And it would drive me out of my mind. They like to talk with each other or whatever, or, and they would get up and get coffee, which I didn't allow to be on the table, whatever. And it used to drive me crazy. And I'd think, oh my gosh, this class especially is really expensive. And, excuse me, they're not going to finish their project. And then I realized they didn't care if they finished.
Right.
They were there for the camaraderie. They were there for what I had to say and what I had to teach them or what they wanted to learn. They were happy with not finishing the project.
Right.
So just if you're a teacher, everybody's different. And if they don't finish the project, or you have a groupie that keeps coming and coming and coming that you feel guilty about, and it doesn't seem like their goal is the same as yours, ask them. Does it bother you does it bother you you're not finishing your project in class? Now, sometimes what would happen with one of these people is they would come back with this project and they would have made 42 of them.
Right.
So they were happy.
Right.
And it was funny though, because I would lay awake going, how can I structure this class so that, I'm accommodating this one and that is something a teacher does. You're trying to accommodate everyone.
Well, and some people, I've explained before some classes where we get into real nitty-gritty sort of stuff about technique.
Right.
And they'll say, but we don't finish a project. And I'm like, well, the class is only 2 hours long.
Right.
And you're going to learn this and this and this and this skill. And if we were going to finish a project, it'd have to be 6 week long. If you're gonna learn,
sometimes somebody's not.
But if you're gonna learn one of Linda's, quilting techniques, she had a class on cutting, and some people were like, "Well, we're not gonna finish anything," and I'm like, I think that you're really not giving this class enough.
You have to think about the skills.
Yeah, you're not giving it enough credit, because there are people, and maybe they don't need it. I don't know, but there are people who need a class where we focus on cutting technique. And
how many people have we taught just in general without a class how to use a rotary cutter?
Yeah, exactly.
Principles, and stood there and showed them, and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. Whether it was in another class or an open studio or whatever.
We taught that lecture class, and this is something I think we need to add more into the schedule too, is the lecture classes. We did a fitting, we called it Fit This lecture class, and we did it on jackets, and I learned so much. From you, I talked about a couple of patterns that I had made, and we talked about things like how you use back seams to alter garments and da-da-da-da-da and all this stuff that I've used, since then. And I think it's just, they didn't make anything. But they all seemed real happy. Yeah, they got ideas to apply.
They were taking notes.
That's right. To their projects. And I think, because I don't think everybody wants to just come in and do a sew by numbers.
I think I even in that lecture, I even said, "How do you dress for an airplane?"
Yes, you did.
It was like, how do you dress when you're traveling? And they were all like, "Oh, that's the answer." And I was like, "I know," and it took me a while to figure it out too.
And I think that I think we as a shop sort of cater to the really self-motivated sort of.
I think so too.
So, and I don't mean that means someone who like knows how to do everything. I mean that someone with a real specific idea of like, I want to dress this way.
Well, it's we're supporting their ideas.
Their ideas.
Yeah.
They're not like, well, I just want somebody to tell me how to make this jacket that doesn't actually fit anybody.
Well, and we really have very few classes where everybody leaves and their project looks the same.
Right.
I mean, that's not the poop pillow. Everybody's look the same.
Yeah, I forgot about that class.
Because everybody poops.
Everybody poops. But I'd love to hear about your, what you like about classes, what you don't
expect,
and logistically, but also sort of like emotionally, because I will hear people say I can't come to class because of time constraints or physical restraints of not being able to bring a machine or something like that.
Right.
And it's all very interesting, and the way we've had to change the shop over the years is interesting and I don't know, thought-provoking too. So
and the resurgence of garment classes, it is very reassuring to me. I think what we need to do definitely is our podcast on basically the garment industry and what it's done for us and what it hasn't done for us in terms of how we dress or what we buy.
And what we buy, what we make.
Right,
yeah.
And I think that's, the things that we would talk about in that type of podcast would explain some of the resurgence in garment sewing.
Yeah. Well, let us know your feedback about classes, and thanks for listening.
So long and so classy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.